Alright, so in this one, we are going to be reacting to Goresh's ranking the top 10 best characters in the game July 2023 edition. I know this is very fast from when he uploaded his video, but I figured, well, this would be free content to do, so let's just get it done. And it is August now, so you want to get this, kind of pushed out as fast as possible. And I'm curious to see what his take is. He did always mention, this is more of a reason why I did want to react to it as soon as possible, is that he doesn't feel like there's a concise setting, at least on Twitter he said, where people will like fully agree with the list that he has. Even my own list, there was some disagreements with UI Omen, with Rose being too low, game was too high, and I think that's more just like, well, you kind of figure that out more as you play. But I'm curious to see his takes here, and let's get into it.
I'm going to be covering another installation in my top 10 units list for Dragon Ball Legends. This is actually going to be the July 2023 edition. Even though this video is technically coming out on August 1st, this is still going to be encompassing the July meta. So I wanted to just preface that. So yeah, keep that in mind if you watch this video down the road. This is for July 2023. Okay. And as usual, before we jump into the actual rankings, I just want to always mention the three, I guess, disclaimers before we jump into the actual rankings here. So number one, all characters are considered at 14 stars, best teams, best equips, max title boosts, etc., etc., etc. That's how I've experienced using each character, and basically once you hit God rank, at least in the JP meta, that's really what you're experiencing as well. Characters on their best setups, max stars, etc. Number two, I like to view this list as a top 10 meta snapshot ranking as opposed to just which characters are better than other characters. So, number 5 on the list doesn't
Rose might be better than Cell, but Cell's better right now for the meta.
On the character releases we see in the future.
At least I think so.
And then finally, this list consists of rankings that are entirely of my own opinion.
Yes.
Based off
Don't
of my
come at
personal
me for
experience
mine
playing
or
the game.
him for his.
A lot of you guys know that I play the game in Japan, so this is a list that's going to be based off of the Japanese ladder. The teams that people are using on the Japanese server, the playstyle people have on the Japanese server. So all those things are going to be factored into these rankings. This past few weeks, I have actually been in North America, so I have had a chance to experience that meta as well. But just for the sake of consistency with the other lists I've done in the past, this list will also be based on my experience in the JP environment. So with that being said, let me know down below if you guys agree or disagree with any of the placements in the list. Let's go ahead and jump into number 10, and we will build our way up to the top from there.
If I agree, I'm simply just gonna skip to the next one, by the way. Or if I could like understand the placement and it's like not too far off of my own opinion on it.
So number 10 on the list, I actually think you could have quite a number of...
Orange is top 10? Well, I don't agree, but let's hear it out.
Different characters at number 10. There are about literally 10 characters you could potentially have at this spot on the list. I think a lot of which are not on the list at all. But this is a very flexible spot here. I think there's a pretty sizable difference between the number 10 spot and then like 9 through 1. Which is a little weird because it's never really been like that before. But I picked Orange Piccolo to be at number 10 on the list. Again, you could have, again, like 10 other different characters on the number 10 spot as opposed to this character. But I like this character for a variety of different reasons. But the most prominent reason is because this character has a very high floor. And what I mean by that is you always know you're getting 3 important things that this character is bringing to the table pretty much every single match. Those 3 things being a heal for the team, support for the team.
He could die before the heal. He could die before the support. I mean, listen, I'm just going off experience, as he is. The few times I faced Orange Piccolo, or used him, he'll sometimes die before he can pop that bullshit to go off. I'm just saying.
And a revive. I think in this meta specifically...
One more thing to point out. I know Android 16 is not meta or anything, but there's a situation now where currently if you do go kaboom and you're a revival unit, every revival unit right now I believe is they don't revive if they get kaboomed. So while Android 16 is not meta, I'm just saying there could be a situation where this guy just gets kaboomed.
With how easy it is
I'm
for
just
these
saying.
characters to generate Rising Rushes. You know, Goku and Frieza, Ultra Vegeta Blue. We have the purple Cell, who's able to combo forever as well. It just has become a lot more relevant having characters that have access to revives, because they're not going to have their life endangered by Vegeta Blue's, you know, anti-endurance.
Their first life dies so quick.
Ability with the Rising Rush, or Gogeta Blue's anti-endurance ability with the Rising Rush. And, you know, sometimes when you're using Goku and Frieza, the enemy has a Goku and Frieza, their anti-cover nullification effect when they switch to Frieza can sort of penetrate through your Goku and Frieza's thing. So just good old-fashioned revive is a good way to deter enemy Rising Rushes. I'm not going to go ahead and say this character is, like, utterly ridiculous or anything like that, because the answer is he's not.
You're right.
But I do view this character, I think, in a much more positive way than... you know, the majority of most other players, from what I've seen across social media.
All I've mentioned so far in the positive aspect is that he could support, he could team heal. Doesn't heal himself on that, by the way, just team heals the allies. Then he revives. There's not been, like, that he could take the rush, like a rush safety. That's, like, the most value so far. If there's not more, then does that really make a top 10
opinions
unit?
that I've seen people have on this character? A lot of people really do not like this character. I myself wish he was a bit better than he is, but I still think he does bring a decent amount of value to his teams. And now that we have a pretty decent setup for Regen, especially now with this new Cell being added to the game, is a very, very powerful character.
Regen. So if it's Regen, you're thinking Kid Buu, Cell, Piccolo. Okay. Kid Buu, Cell, Piccolo. Wouldn't Zamasu just be better than Piccolo? Because Kid Buu, he's still fine individually. He's still very good. There's purples. You could even value this guy's top 10, Kid Buu. Why not? Cell, he's very high, you know, very good, very high up, all that shit. You know, minimum top 7, whatever the fuck you want to call him. He's minimum top 7 in my opinion. But Piccolo, I mean, I'm not saying Zamasu's better, but I'm saying, like, in the meta value, I'd be much safer bringing a Blue that could wall UVB infinite combos than Piccolo that could, okay, he could revive versus it. But then you don't get that team heal. Then you don't get that, because you're not going to let Cell die first. You're not going to get Kid Buu die first. So you're going to pop Piccolo on Regen, then he's going to die before he can pop main, get the support, get the team heal. And then that's 2 of the 3 things he mentioned. That's the safety and goodness that he comes with. Then on top of the 3rd thing, which is the rush safety, he'll die in the first combo. So you see my dilemma with him there, Piccolo? There's no sequence to use him. Because, again, Regen's going to be Cell, Kid Buu. And then, presumably, this guy here, right? But then I just go over the sequence where you bring him against a UVB. There's no safety. So, you're not dropping the other 2. Are you gonna drop Piccolo? Probably, yeah.
I definitely think him on Regen next to, like, Kid Buu and Cell actually make a pretty good lineup here. And whenever we get more movies buff moving forward, I think he will also continue to add value to that team as well. Again, with his very flexible mechanic list, right? And this is very similar to how Revival Gohan remained relevant for such a long period of time. He pretty much has the same exact set of abilities that he's bringing to the table as Revival Gohan, and those...
The difference, respectfully here, is very vast. Piccolo doesn't have the access to Broken Pures, to fucking Puddle being run around 24/7 with him. There's a big gap between, like, Piccolo is a modern day Revhon, right? That's not a debate. Rita's Kit, they're both the same fucking character, besides one is AoE green, one has a counter green. That's literally all the difference, to be real with you. But, like, actual goodness-wise of their current meta, Piccolo is so much lower in the output, lower in, maybe not defense, and this is probably equivalent, but lower in such an output setting of building up or going crazy or doing something ballistic. You remember Revhon one-shotting you, destroying his entire hand and blue card fucking beating your ass, right? You remember that. I'm sure you do. Piccolo isn't that. So while he's a modernized version, to be a modernized version of a character that was good because the numbers were so much lower back then to now, that doesn't mean Piccolo is him. He's like a doppelganger. He wants to be him, but he's not him. He's nowhere close to what Revhon could have been, or was at the point he was out. Even with Evo out, Revhon was still Revhoning everyone, because he had FSK, Puddle. Piccolo has nobody supporting? I mean, Pan, but like, Movies isn't very good anyways. Regen, no one's supporting on Regen, so yeah, it's kind of a gap in that comparison.
I think will allow this character to age pretty well, because again, very, very high floor. You're always going to be getting those very valuable mechanics every single match. Unless you just get completely shut out, which I guess is possible. But
it's not hard to do.
Again, Orange Piccolo, I'm not saying...
The team you mentioned has no coverage against the red, and then the red's number 1.
Right.
You know?
I really don't see an argument to have him higher on the list than number 10.
Great.
Like, this is pretty much it for this character. Until he gets like some insane buff in the form of like a Zenkai, like another, even though he already does have access to a Zenkai ability, maybe like a character that works like extraordinarily well with him or something.
Just give him a plot.
This is really what we're looking at for this character. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he was kicked off the list in the next iteration of this list, but I feel comfortable with him being at number 10. I wouldn't put him higher than that. And I think there are a decent amount of characters that you could put in this place instead of Piccolo. So this is really where I'd have him here, but I do feel comfortable with him being at number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 on the list is going to be Ultra.
UGB. I think I had this guy like 7 or 8. You could debate him as 8. I think I have 7. I have 7. And I had Gammas at 8. Right? Rosé hit UG, Gammas UGB. If you want to say UGB is at, I feel like 9 is a little too low. Like, I get, like, lowering him because, obviously, he's just not doing too much anymore, but, I feel like 9's a little cruel? Let me hear some of this.
Gogeta Blue. So it's funny because I remember making a comment, I think it was in the prior list before Vegeta Blue released, before we knew what he was able to do. And I was saying, if we really do get Ultra Vegeta Blue as part of the anniversary, this character can jump way, way up on the list, which certainly was a possibility. I think I don't know if this was done on purpose or what, but they really designed Ultra Vegeta Blue's kit to not match up particularly well in favor of this character does not match up particularly well against Vegeta Blue whatsoever. In fact, I think when you're using this character and the enemy's using Vegeta Blue, you really often find yourself at a very, very disadvantageous
if they know what they're doing,
versus him most of the time. Doesn't kill Dragon Balls, doesn't kill cards when his gauge is filled up. Vegito is constantly drawing strike cards. Like,
well, he could draw
Vegito honestly is one of the better counters in the entire game to this Gogeta Blue.
That is true.
Which is not good.
But he doesn't need counters.
For a character to be at a very disadvantageous spot versus Vegito Blue, it's not good. Not a good place.
So what's like
there's just a better purple character to put in leader slot of every team now with Goku and Frieza. I mean, there's really no reason to use this guy on leader of any team right now. He's definitely not held up well in terms of his defensive abilities. He does have a pretty interesting mechanic. He's sort of like the first iteration of Goku and Frieza's ability, where he goes type neutral versus blue cards and ultimates. He's still a really, really powerful character past 60 counts. When the timer hits 120, he's able to grab a ton of extra mechanics. His green card becomes ridiculous. He himself becomes ridiculous. But again, I mentioned this with the new green Super Saiyan Gohan. 60 counts in this meta is like the fight is a lot of times just done.
Or it's 1v3 at that point.
Characters like Goku and Frieza and Vegeta Blue who are farming. Honestly, I've seen people rush twice before 60 counts have elapsed. I've seen it.
All that, but the match ends very fast before 60 counts. If not, it's basically over and it's your 1v3 spot.
That long to build up to their max potential. It's just not. It's not really conducive to how the current meta is played. But
I understand lowering. Maybe to 9 is kind of a deep extent. Like, I get it. I get being lower than, expected. But I feel like 9 is just, I don't know. Maybe it's not too low. Maybe it's fine. Maybe, I'm just thinking of Orange Piccolo 10 than Gogeta Blue 9. I definitely know there's worse off units for this meta right now. But I understand the sequence of saying he's 9. I just don't agree with it. I can get it, though. I can get, like, where he's coming from. Like, he really doesn't do much against UVB, and that is true. Number 8 here.
Great. Number 8, we have Ultra Kid Buu here.
That's pretty high up for a yellow. Okay. While I do not agree, I think Kid Buu could argue 10, in that area, 10, 11, 12. I don't think he'd be any higher than that in the current meta, because... well, look what color he is. Look at the coverage he doesn't have with Zamasu. Zamasu's not good enough to coverage against UVB. How do we put this guy? I wonder. Let's see.
Definitely a pretty big decrease in position on the list as opposed to
free to post, Danny.
I think I had him at number 2. I think I had Goku and Frieza 1 and then this Kid Buu at number 2. So he goes from like 2 to 8 on this list.
Tough.
And I think most people can understand why the
I'm surprised even on the list, to be real.
The decline, I guess. We have Ultra Gogeta Blue now basically dominating the game next to Goku and Frieza. And of course, with him being the strongest red we've seen since like Zenkai Super Saiyan 2 Gohan.
Oh, he's like all the way back.
Right. I just find it tough to really have this guy higher on the list.
Once again, I'm surprised he's on the list.
The fact that he's even this high at number 8, like
I wonder
that's
why.
pretty good, considering that on his main team there really isn't a great
as I mentioned
option,
yes.
Right? If Regen had like a really solid, like
he could be like
godly
6.
blue character, like if there was an Android 17 equivalent for Regen, this character would be significantly higher on my list. Because I think this character individually, kit-wise, what he's doing,
he's still popping off like a fucking
still
madman.
Comparable to the best character in the game, easily.
True.
It's just meta-wise right now, color-wise. It's tough to run him when Vegeta Blue is in every single match and he's just so dominant. It's tough to really squeeze this character in. I'm sure, you know, in the right situation, even against Vegeta Blue, he can look pretty good. And I wouldn't even say that it's probably even that rare to do that.
He's not wrong at all.
On average,
in this
it's
spot,
not going to be a
wrong.
good matchup for this character with Vegeta Blue in every match, I guess, right? There are a decent amount of purples right now in the meta. You know, Cell just got introduced, even though I think Cell indirectly does help this Buu by being on the same team as him. You know, this Buu would obviously perform well against Cell. He performs well against Goku and Frieza a lot of the time. So, you know, that's a good thing for this character, but Vegeta is just too overbearing of a character, I think, right now. His presence in the meta.
So I get why he's mentioned Kid Buu. I mean, putting him 10, I wouldn't even like be, you know, shocked, but I actually would be like, oh, okay, that's kind of, you know, off topic of Rose and all these other motherfuckers that are like lowering in, you know, value. But I could understand number 10. 8, I feel like is a little gassed, especially because what we're probably going to see here, because I haven't either hits off the top 10 or hits like next. And obviously UVB. If both these reds are that far above, and they're at least above Kid Buu, I'd be a little confused to have him 10. If Hit's not on the list, I get it more. But Kid Buu, understandably, individually, is why he's rating this high. Clearly, his team is not the reason, because he just mentioned they don't have a really good blue to stop anything. And again, it's more individual rating. I think that's not fully valid. Because the thing is, with Piccolo, the whole point of Piccolo you're really mentioning is the two things he does for his team, support and heal, right? And then UGB, okay, here's like an individual ranking, kind of mixed with a team one. Then Kid Buu, this is solely just like a solo, dolo type of thing. Like, Kid Buu could go crazy if UVB's in the match, but it's just like, don't get UVB'd. And while that's true, you know, there's not much you can do sometimes about getting UVB'd, especially when you have no blue on your core team. I don't think he could touch number 8. I don't think this guy is in top 10. If you argued him 10th, sure, I could understand it, but like, I don't think he's in top 10. I just think the team is too wonky and too hurtful against the impact of the current meta. And yeah, I think 8 is too high. I understand it because he's so good solo, but I don't see it because he's so good solo doesn't mean his team is good enough to make it work. It's like saying, what's an example? I don't know. I don't know. Let's say we got a fucking girls unit that drops it. That's top 1. Okay, but her team is fucking shit, so she ends up being like top 5. Well, that makes sense because her team's trash. And then, you know, while she is top 1 individually, she's only top 5 because her team is complete dog shit. You really want those peers, you really want those ability, whatever the fuck it is. That's kind of Kid Buu right here. He's very good, but his team doesn't work out, and it's not great for the meta. So I just can't see number 8.
Number 7. Alrighty, number 7.
As I mentioned, hit would be number 7. Yeah, I figured. So Kid Buu being 8 even makes me question more why he's 8. But nonetheless, 7 hit. I had him 9. Right? Yeah, I have him 9. The reason I have him 9 is because he's just slower. You don't ever need him. Can I understand 7? I actually can understand 7. While I don't think it's somewhere I'd put him. I get Unireps is still very good. You know, LS17, Goku Frieza, hit, or if you want to bullshit with Jiren instead of LS17, that'd be a lot worse, but you could do it, right? You could do those things, but again, what I feel for him is understandable for number 7. I get it. makes sense to an extent, but there's just no necessity for him, and that goes from him being this top 3, top 4, top 5. He's just a slower UVB. Why would you ever need him? But he's still good. He's just slower. You don't need him. And there's no yellows running around anyway, so it's not. And you can say the same thing UVB, but UVB versus blues compared to hit versus blues early game, it's night and day. Hit does not do a lot of damage versus blues early game. Later game he does when he's built up. UVB needs no build up, so there's a difference there, and the gap is pretty wide. But 7, I can understand it. That's probably the highest I'd ever put hit in the current meta, but not gonna harp on it too long. I think I harped on Piccolo very long, so let's just skip forward here to number 6, actually.
6. Coming in at number 6.
Sword of Hope. I have him 6 or 5. I think I have... Yeah, no, I have him 6, right? I have Cell 5/4, then Omen 5/4. Okay, yeah, no, I agree with this. Sword of Hope I do think is 6. I think he's a little bit overrated, just a tad bit, not by Goresh here, obviously, if I'm agreeing with the same placement. I think the just overall consensus of Trunks is a little overrated. His, ultimate being so fucking nuclear and everything. Fun fact, I saw people actually do damage testing. Sword of Hope to UI Omen, given UI Omen's on triple Zenka up, but that is his literal main team, so it makes sense to do. They're both main teams. Omen's ultimate actually did more than Sword of Hope, because Sword of Hope only has 50% cup pen, Omen has 100% cup pen. I think that was with all build up for both characters, by the way, with Gage, with fucking, 8 timer counts, whatever the fuck Omen's thing is. So it actually is a little bit of gassing for Trunks. That's a little bit unwarranted, just by overall things I've heard and read. But 6, I think, is a perfect spot. Moving him down or up doesn't make any sense to me. I think this is the genuine number 1 spot he can be, the only spot he can be. If you were to overrate him a little bit, you're kind of gassing his ultimate, you're kind of gassing that first strike a little too much. And then if you were to put him down more, you would just kind of be underrating him at that point. It's just like, he's not bad, he's not fucking perfect, but he's pretty goddamn good. Number 6 thing is perfect placement. If I agree, we move forward, or if I can't understand it to an extent, we move forward. So let's get to number 5.
Okay, moving up to number 5.
I have the same placement for Cell, but I still want to hear it because he is new.
I have in the list, so starting with the top 5, we have LF Purple Perfect Form Cell here, the newest release, the newest major
what's
release
the gas
of the
behind
game.
him here?
I will just say, I think you can probably interchange number 5 and number 4 on my list. You guys see number 4 on my list.
If it's Omen, that's crazy.
But I would say you could
5
probably
and 4 can also
interchange
swap
both
for me. Whoever it
the
is.
Cell is
before I'm
very, very
curious.
impressive. When I first saw his details, they
felt
posted his
it was a
details
little
on the
underwhelming,
official website,
details.
and I did a
Besides
breakdown
the
video
kaboom.
on him, and I looked at his kit, and he looked pretty good to me, but he definitely didn't look as good as he actually ended up turning out, right?
No cup pen.
And obviously that was due to just a bunch of different unknown factors that we couldn't really tell from just reading it on paper, like how long it took for his gauge to fill, right? How much damage his AoE actually did. But this character really has been, I think, designed exceptionally well. And the main reason why I really like the design of this character is because he's a ranged character that was designed correctly, right? Most teams in this game right now, we could even take a look at his tags, the Cell. Cell characters historically have had access to some of the widest variety of teams in the game, right? Androids, which is a real team, Regen, which is a real team, Powerful Opponent, which is a real team, and Future, which is a team that gets buffed every 3 months, right? So he's on 4 real legitimate teams. And the reason why it matters that this character was designed correctly as a ranged character is because Regen is strike-based, Future is strike-based, and Powerful Opponent is strike-based. However, Androids is blast-based, so he's on 3 strike teams and 1 blast team. This guy has more strike attack than blast attack.
He gets blast plus on green.
So you can build him one way or the other. You can build him strike based on those 3 teams, whereas you can build him blast based on androids. And he doesn't get any particularly, crazy advantageous mechanics from just strictly being a blast unit. Like he doesn't gain extra blast damage or anything like that. He does gain a cost down effect for his blast cards, but that doesn't, I don't think, give him big of enough edge.
It's not crazy, but it doesn't
be a ranged type character to warrant never building him strike based. So in terms of the design of this character, I think he was actually done really well. I think the death AoE effect is ridiculously strong. A lot of times it actually ends up giving you a free kill.
Yeah, because
and then on top of that, his combo potential while he's not dead is pretty insane, right? You can use his main ability to fill up his gauge, and you get an extra vanish back. You can, a lot of times what I like to do with these characters that have timed unique gauges, and we'll talk about the gammas in a little bit, but Cell, what you can do with Cell is I think most of the time you probably want to utilize it.
Wait, what? We'll talk about the Gammas. Is he implying they're number 4? Because 1 and 2 is UVB Goku Frieza. I assume 4 and 3 is like 17, and then I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's not gonna be Omen, I'm sure. How is Omen not on over Piccolo? Wait, what? Okay.
Gauge offensively,
is 4?
but if you're not able to use his gauge offensively, you can use it defensively as a second vanish. So you can like save his gauge, like when it's about to, when it's like a 1 count away from filling up, you can swap out and then swap back into him when you need an extra vanish gauge, right? Because you can time it. You have control over it most of the time. So yeah, that on top of the card draw speed, the cover nullification. I mean, just doing a lot. The AoE green card. I mean, talk about regen with their AoE green cards. We have Kid Buu. We have the Cell. So just Androids has access to an AoE green card now. So yeah, the Cell is definitely impressed me a decent bit. His damage is ridiculous. His defense is not bad either. He has 70% reduced damage received, and his defensive stats are pretty damn high. Look at this, 198 and 196.
He does okay.
I don't particularly have any complaints about this character at all. I think they did a really good job designing him. I think he's on a lot of teams that need help. And
we don't want to power creep the
anniversary.
anniversary.
To seeing what they do
we might hate
the
it.
Future LF
That'd be kind of stupid, right?
You can add this to the list of well-designed LF units this year. So,
right.
Purple Cell
for
number
now.
5. Let's move
I'm not
on
sure how
to
we
number 4. All right, moving on to.
They are 4. Gamma's at 4. Okay, let me try to break this down for myself before I hear what he has to say. So LF17's 3. I'm genuinely surprised. I don't need Omen to be top 5 or anything, but I'm surprised Omen's not on this list over fucking Piccolo, for God's sakes. Jesus fucking Christ. Or Kid Buu, because, like, Omen's so fucking easy and free right now, but whatever. I'm not gonna, like, you know, hold on to that hope. It's clear, LF17, whoever he has 2, whoever he has 1, it doesn't matter, they're swappable, whatever the fuck. Gamma's at 4. So I get it. Android's got a buff, they got Cell, LF17, Gammas. How does that validate? Like, they're deceptively tanky, I get that. They can destroy Dragon Balls, not really, but kind of, because UVB would take all those blue cards, right? Even if they're type neutral, he would still take those blue cards, which would stop that Dragon Ball destruction. So, they're gaining value with Cell, right? But is it that much? This is literally double where I put them. Or half, I guess you'd say. Because I put them at 8, he put them at 4. I can't really understand this without, let me hear.
Or on the list, we have Tag, Gamma 1, and Gamma 2. I think I would consider this probably the most underrated character in the game.
I don't disagree.
So last season, I did my God rank grind with the Goku and Frieza, future sort of Trunks, and Vegeta Blue team. And then once I got my God rank, I think the last day or day and a half of the season, I switched to androids. And I was using Gamma 1 and 2, 17, and Magenta was my team.
Okay.
And I won like 35 or 40 matches in a row, and I didn't lose a single one. And
I just have a question. So you said this is about the JPQ. To my recollection, the season ended when he was still in NA. So he's mentioning NA when he's mentioning JP. Or am I confused? I'm just pointing out that he mentioned this about JPQ. But it seems he's pointing out NA matches with the Gammas versus JP. Would it change anything? I don't know. But it's just inconsistent, that's all.
17 in the Gammas. I mean, the Gammas don't... unprecedented levels. Like, the amount of damage this character is able to do with just, like,
one
still a
yellow
card.
I love them.
Favorite insane, man.
Currently.
It is
but they're not.
Pretty ridiculous. And the fact that they have cover nullification for multiple cards every time they tag in and out.
2 cards.
The defensive utility in this character is ridiculous as well. They heal every single time they get hit for the first time they switch in or tag in.
Neutral.
You have the healing with Blue 17. Blue 17 is reducing enemies' special move and ultimate arts power. 17 is a deterrent to Vegeta Blue.
Deterrent.
That's the biggest issue with this character right now is just the fact that they're yellow.
Exactly.
It makes it, fairly difficult, I guess, to deter.
So to continue, to compare, rather, Kid Buu to Gammas. So Kid Buu has no neutral. No. 0. Tough shit. Gammas have 2 cards worth of neutral per tag out. And that's if, like, you're spamming card. Like, if you do 2 blasts back-to-back, that'll be type neutral. If you do, like, a strike into a strike, that'll be neutral. If you do, like, a blast into a blue, that blue won't be neutral. Offensively, obviously. So, you have no crazy output to deal with UVB, at least prior to that, you know, type neutral versus LS17, because he'll get the fucking 50%, whatever the fuck happens there. And then you also have the Gammas that are, a lot of the time, most of the time, getting fucked up by them. While they're yellow, against Goku Frieza, they're great, against, you know, what the fuck ever, they're great. Not even that great against Sword of Hope, to be honest, because they don't nullify endurance until someone's dead. I get it, someone will die, but what if that's not the case? Sometimes it happens, not everything goes the way you plan it to. While you want it to go that way, it won't always go that way. I want to keep hearing.
Vegeta Blue's Onslaught if you're a yellow character, but when you're a yellow character that has access to Blue 17 on your team, you're probably going to be looking pretty good on top of all the defensive abilities this character has. They're destroying Dragon Balls, they're going type neutral. I mean, I don't even want to mention their offense abilities against
They can't destroy Dragon Balls because UVB's immune. And UVB's always going to take that blue card because he's red. Even if they're neutral, he's always going to take that blue card because he's red.
No, because even though Vegeto's a red character, you know, featured boost, newly released summonable ultra character, really high stats, this character can tear Vegeta Blue in half, like literally. I've seen it. I've done it before.
I've seen it too.
This character on
but it's not as consistent as VB beating their ass in.
I mean, you get a combo started on
Which
Vegeta
makes
Blue,
sense.
they're going type neutral when they tag out. You just rapid fire blast cards and Vegeto's dead. I mean, this character is actually able to tear through pretty much any character in the game. And if the match ends up going long enough to where this character is able to get their core breaker active, which is not that uncommon because, you know, Blue 17 allows your team to basically just survive forever. It makes it very tough for your opponent to win. The core breaker is just how they should have handled the Buu Saga Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta unit. You having control basically over when the core breaker activates makes it so much more powerful than that Buu Duo's standby mechanic or preparation mode mechanic, whatever you want to call it. What you can do with this character, and I've done this pretty much every time I've gotten the core breaker mechanic off, is I've waited until the gauge is like at like 1 millisecond left on it. Then you switch out, and then you can utilize it offensively or defensively. Again, this is very similar to the way that I like to use the Purple Cells unique gauge, which I just talked about in the prior section. You switch out right before it's about to, you know, expire, and then let's just say your opponent...
Is the real defense in saying they'll get their core breaker consistently? And I've used the Gammas. I like the Gammas. I use them pretty often. I use them even if I'm just playing for like my daily match off camera, whatever the fuck bullshit. Is the real situation to cope the core breaker that LS17's blue card and ultimate debuff, you know, cancel attribute upgrades, buff effect bullshit he does? That's enough to validate it? It's not. It just isn't. I'd love for it to be the case, but it's just not. You can't always have LS17 in prior to with UVB about to do a blue card. You can't. That's just not. Where's the subcount manipulation to make that happen? To always have LS17 in prior. It's just not. And that's what you need for that to not fucking nuke your asshole inside out and kill the Gammas in 1 card. Or 2 cards. Maybe that'd be, you know, fucking neutral there. But let's say someone does a strike, then they do a fucking blue, and you don't have your subcounts perfect. Genuine perfect, because you don't have much manipulation there besides the green card for LF17, how could you make it work out? I guess with Cell, it becomes different, but he's even referring to prior to Cell. Even with Cell, you're still not going to have subcounts 24/7 to always have your fucking other unit take the hit. They could genuinely just die 5 counts into the match. There's no difficulty in that, honestly. If I were to, like, lead Cell, they have UVB, and they led Goku Frieza, they, you know, got the stupid little swap, they caught me, okay. LS17 takes a combo, he takes over 60% from that UVB. Where the Gammas take some of the cards and then you get your tag mechanic, then you swap to LS17, boom, you take 40%. They catch one more combo, either LS17's almost dead, or you gotta sack off your Gammas, or you gotta get your Cell back in, then everyone's below 50%, then from there they land one more combo, they get a kill, then steamroll, 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 steamroll. For what the Gammas have to do and what androids have to do comparably, it's so much harder for them, despite the fact that they're number 4 here. It just doesn't correlate.
Into like Goku and Frieza. Well, if they switch into Goku and Frieza in neutral, which means, you know, no one's comboing the other person, all you do is switch into this character and you win. Because they just instantly die. Right? You switch into this character while Goku and Frieza is in the battlefield, you kill him instantly. Right?
What?
Or if they start a combo on you, you can switch into the Gammas and end their combo and kill them. So there's not much you could do, right? I mean, you set the Gammas up with that core breaker mechanic and you just kill the opponent. Even if they catch you in a combo, they lose. Yeah, there's a lot going on for this character. I think one other thing to quickly mention about this unit, and this just expands or extends to the entire Android team in general, and that is the fact that most of the better units in the game right now, like 80 to 90%, have strike cover changes, and of course the Android team is very heavily blast based, especially now with the addition of Cell, right, where you want to build some blast based on there.
One is even covered.
I mean, let's just go down the list. Combo. LF Cell, the new Cell has a strike cover change. Goku and Frieza strike cover change. Ultra Vegeta Blue has a strike cover change. Senkai Sword of Hope Trunks has a strike cover change. Orange Piccolo strike cover change. Ultra Kid Buu strike cover change. I mean, you just keep going down the list. Like, you just keep going forever. Ultra Rose strike cover change. Like every character, pretty much that is
Rose's not on the list.
That you see prominently in PvP as a strike cover change. So even when the Gammas have exhausted their cover nullification after tagging in and out, you can just go with Blast most of the time, and there really aren't a ton of enemy teams that are being ran that can deal with just taking Blast Arts cards. Like, they just can't cover change on them, so.
I know Omen maybe not be top 5 for a lot of people, as he is for me, in my opinion. But what about Omen? To cover change, obviously. To cover change, to stall, till UVB's back, and then you beat the Gamma's ass. Thoughts and opinions?
That makes this character, I think, right now pretty good. So even with Vegeta Blue being as dominant as he is, and this character being yellow, I think them being covered by Blue... Like, if Blue 17 didn't exist, then yeah, I'd have this character probably get a decent bit down the list here. But they're just so
still be
powerful,
on the list if
this
there's no
character. Gamma 1 and 2, like, they're... 2 arts cards kill anything. It's just...
This is like overvaluing 17, isn't it?
Tag Gamma 1 and 2, I have him at number 4.
I get it, he's 3, I agree. LS17's 3, I don't disagree. But to put the Gammas this high is overvaluing the shit out of 17.
Because of
you're like
Blue having such an advantage over
praising.
Wise, but I like to have it like this. I think the Gammas to me are a bit more impressive. This character will never go.
Shocking. I agree. There's not much I can even say about it. Yes, he's number 3, but the praising to make the Gammas number 4, I don't know about all that. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think peak for the Gammas for me. No, they wouldn't even be 6. They cannot be above Sword of Hope for me. No shot. No. 7. 7's their peak. I have them 8. 7's their peak. Nothing higher than that. How? Rose? Rose's below Orange and Omen. Or rather, Orange is above Omen and Rose? What did... Like, I get it, Rose's value has diminished because he's not core. Orange Piccolo's fucking ass. I mean, you know, Kid Buu's whole comparison was his individual kit, not even his team, when he was talking about him. Orange Piccolo, he pops main, and that was two-thirds of the value he mentioned. Team heal, team support. That's 2/3 of the value, right? Then rust protection, basically. And that's more value than Rose or Omen. Omen takes less and does more diffusions. And that's going to be your crown jewel number 1, whoever number 2. There you go. Your crown jewel number 2 is going to be that.
Number 2.
Wait, oh, he has them both? Because he's going to...
Alright,
no, so okay, he has UVB 1. UVB, once again, early game, 30 counts. He's number 1. Post 30 counts, it's Goku Frieza. And then you could even lower UVB to, like, you know, fucking 5, 6, 7 after 30 counts because he loses, like, his big card draw speed and he just doesn't do his big job as much as he does it. But nonetheless, fucking disregarding that, I wish I understood or at least heard a reasoning for Omen or Rose not even being mentioned. Mentioned Rose once. Again, I didn't expect Omen to be top 5, but I expect him to be like 9, 10, 8. I'm confused more about Rose. Because how is Rose less valued than Piccolo? Is it really because of Revive? Are we still doing that where we're like Revive is so valuable because you can't get Rust in pre-revival. The damage units do nowadays just doesn't care about that, though. I agree with 1, 2, 3. Goku, Frieza, UVB, you know, LS17, 1, 2, 3, whatever the fuck for Goku, Frieza, UVB. Have either one or two, it doesn't fucking matter. Personally think Goku, Frieza overall is a better one unit, but it doesn't fucking matter, right? They're both 1, 2. 3 makes sense. 4 is, you know, Cell, I understand it. I could have him, rather, Cell is 5. Cell being number 5, yes, I agree with that. Gamers being number 4, hell no, I cannot see that. While I love the unit and I think they're very good, they are underrated. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. LS17 is not some godsend transcending their value to top 4 when there's a fucking peak red every single fucking match. That's just not realistic for the setting of PvP right now. Hit being in this area, I understand it. Whoever else was lower, Kid Buu, I wouldn't have him top 10, but if you have him 10, I could, you know, get behind that. UGB being a little bit low, but nothing too crazy. He's at number 9. I can see the situation for it, but again, I would have him just a little bit higher. The others, Piccolo and, you know, wherever the fuck else. You know, Piccolo is just too high. Piccolo's too high. Piccolo should not be here. Over Rose and Omen? Nah, fam. That really trips me up. The Rose thing more than Omen. Like, I get if people, like, undervalue Omen because, like, oh, he's just a Senkai buffer. You're not going to use him. Why run double purples? Well, you're free to run double purples right now, right? That's why Cell's so fucking high, because you can run double purples. Similar to why Gamma should be so high, because there's a fucking red, right? It makes sense. Like, the math checks out. But, fine. Underrate Omen, no problem. Rose, though? I don't know how Rose could be below Piccolo. That gets me on top of the Gamma thing, but the main thing that matters the most, we're going to see the most every match, is Goku Frieza, UVB, and LS17. Usually Goku Frieza and UVB more, but yeah, those two matter the most. They're 1, 2. Hey, that's what we care for, what's going to be seen the most. And the other stuff, I don't really follow in any sequence on some of these things, but some of them, I can understand them. Let me know what you guys think of my reaction to Goresh's top 10 list of 2023 of July. I'll see you guys in the next one.